Buen día, buenos días a todos, todas los que se van sumando. Estaremos iniciando en unos minutitos. Good morning to everyone who is joining. We will start in a few minutes. Thank you very much for being here.
Listo.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, welcome to this event on the Red de Alianzas para la Acción Social, the network of partnerships for local action, in the frame of this 2024 ECOSOC Partnership Forum. In the name of all the collaborating institutions, we welcome you. We are very happy to have you here. We know it's really early in some parts of the world, such as Mexico. So thank you very much for joining. We hope this event is compelling to you and to your daily work in order to learn about this collective proposal of the materialization for the 2030 agenda in the frame of local action. So thank you very much, and we will start. First, I'm going to give some agreements for the participation for this session, since most of you are in an attendee format. So please, you will see the chat of questions and answers at the bottom central part of your screen. So you can use it at any time. We really exhort you to use it if you have any inquiry, if you have any question. And the organizing staff will be answering to your questions, and we will be able to take some of this at the end of the session in a space we will open for you. And also, you will see a hand icon at the bottom part of your screen. You will be able to use it, and we will give the technical permissions for you to open your mic and to ask any questions at the moment that we will open this space for questions and answers for the panelists and for discussion, if you have any comment that is compelling also to this panel. So with those agreements in mind, I would love to present you the goals of the session. The goal of the session in the context of this ECOSOC Partnership Forum has a purpose to hold this session of exchange and reflection with two main axes. First, to present the network of local partnerships for local action, or in Spanish, the Red de Alianzas para la Acción Local, and disseminate its scope and general approach. Second, to showcase many successful and really important partnerships with tangible impacts at the local level in Mexico. So with that said, I will present you the agenda. Today we have a really enriching agenda. Starting with this first part and these welcoming words, we will follow with these remarks about the network from Ola Goranson, Sustainable Development Officer and Outreach Partner from the Outreach and Partnerships Branch from the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, followed by Jessica Braver, Head of Resident Coordination Office from UN Mexico. We will follow with the second part, where we'll have reflection, best practices, and exchange. Here, we will be starting with the valuable words from Irais Barreto, Executive Secretary of the National Council of the 2030 Agenda from the Ministry of Economy in Mexico, and she will talk to us about partnerships to strengthen the 2030 Agenda from the government perspective in the context of the elaboration of the 2023 Voluntary National Review. We will continue with the second part, so next slide, please, with a really enriching panel about local partnerships to reinforce the 2030 Agenda in the frame of our thematic today, which is eradicating poverty in times of multiple crises, the effective delivery of sustainable, resilient, and innovative solutions. Here, we will review 4 different cases. First, poverty reduction, where we will have the enriching words from Juan Manuel Martínez Lubier, General Director of the National Institute of Social Economy, INAES. The second case about sustainable cities will be held by Auribel Villa, Technical Director of the project BioCities in the German Technical Cooperation, GIZ. The third case, disaster risk reduction, will be held by Elisa Trujillo, General Director from Senacet. And finally, we will have the case of the fog catcher in Baja California Sur, held by Raúl Gio, Partnerships and Communities Leader from SDSN Mexico, SID, UNAM. After this really compelling and interesting panel, we will have this space of interaction and discussion where you will be able to send any questions for the panelists through the Q&A chat, or we also impose you to raise your hand and open your mic orderly within this moderation in order to say any comments, to tell us about any perspectives you might have. And in order to construct in this collaborative space. We will close with these remarks from the Honorable Ambassador Graciela Gomez, Director of Liaison with Civil Society Organizations from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mexico. With that said, I will follow with the first part, and I would love to introduce Ola Goranson, Mr. Ola Goranson, who will tell us these introductory remarks about what is a network, its purpose, where it's aiming. So thank you very much for being here, Mr. Goranson, and thank you for your words. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Triana, and good morning, everyone, esteemed colleagues. I send warm greetings from quite a cold and chilly New York. My name is, like Triana said, my name is Ola Goranson. I work at the Division for Sustainable Development Goals within the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, UNDESA. So allow me to just do some brief opening remarks. I know we have a short hour today, so I'll not be very lengthy. But first of all, I would like to really extend my sincere gratitude for you to inviting me to be part of this event as we celebrate and really inaugurate this network of partnerships for local action, which I see as quite a significant milestone in Mexico's collective pursuit of sustainable development. And as you're certainly familiar with, the Sustainable Development Goal 17 of the 2030 Agenda really recognizes multi-stakeholder partnerships as crucial, important vehicles for mobilizing and sharing knowledge, expertise, technologies, and financial resources to support the achievement of sustainable development goals in all countries, and particularly in developing countries. And I think this network really underscores the commitment to fostering a local approach for advancing sustainable development through the exchange of knowledge, collective reflection, and to scale up and foster more multi-stakeholder collaborations in Mexico. I'm also very pleased to note there's an invaluable support from the various partners in these efforts, including UN, whole family, government agencies, private sector, and really all stakeholders of society. You have all played a quite crucial role in this network, which I really think speaks to the power of the collective in shaping positive impact for advancing SDGs everywhere. And I think the importance of strengthening local partnerships and engagement cannot really be overstated. Involving all stakeholders in these fashions is not only a recipe for success, but it's really a necessity in addressing the daily sustainable development challenges in local communities. Without everyone's engagement and buy-in, moving forward towards sustainable development is simply not possible, in my view. So hence, platforms such as these really play a pivotal role in bringing together stakeholders to address significant development issues and to systemically foster partnerships for the SDGs at all levels. I'm confident that this network will involve international reference point for capacity building, resource mobilization, and accelerating sustainable development initiatives locally. In addition, I think your groundbreaking work really serves as an inspiration for other countries also in the region as well globally. From UNDESA's perspective, we're very happy and honored to have played a small role in supporting these efforts in Mexico over the past years, starting with the development of the 2021 Partnership Landscape Assessment, the 2022 and 2023 forum and various workshops. And also we had some little support in formulating you and Mexico's 2022-2025 partnership strategy for accelerating SDGs. So a noteworthy aspect of the work that we do in UNDESA through the 2030 Partnership Accelerator is really the commitment to supporting building partnerships and engagement for the SDGs at the national level. We work very closely with the resident coordinator offices, the UN family at the national level, including the national governments, of course, to really foster this collaboration that transcends boundaries and address the unique challenges faced by different nations. And since the launch of this project, the Partnership Accelerator, which was launched in connection with the first SDG Summit back in 2019, we have collaborated with numerous UN country teams, national governments, and various stakeholders in advancing effective partnerships. And we did sort of a broad count that we have been able to reach over 1,000 stakeholders from various sectors and backgrounds in fostering and learning about the value of collaboration. I would also like to extend my congratulations to Mexico for conducting its 4th voluntary national review this year. We are, from the UN side here in New York, eagerly anticipating hearing more about the review's findings at the upcoming high-level political forum in July, and I'm certain also that this network will provide a role in these efforts. So before I conclude, I want to express really my heartfelt thanks to the whole UN country team and stakeholders in Mexico, with a big thanks also to Priscilla, of course, and our resident coordinator in Mexico, and all of you for being here, for your dedication and hard work in bringing this network to fruition and subsequent implementation. And with that, I wish you all the success on this journey, which I'm very confident this will be underpinned by a spirit of collaboration, innovation, and shared commitment for creating a better and more sustainable future for all. I extend my wishes also for a truly inspiring event, and I thank you so much for your attention and your indulgence. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Goranson, for these introducing remarks. Now, I would like to give the floor to Jessica Raver, Head of Resident Coordination Office at UN Mexico, who will also share for us about the value of this network and the value of these local alliances. Thank you very much, Jessica, for being here.
Well, thank you very much, Triana, and all of you. Ola, nice to see you alive. I saw many exchanges, emails, and I know you're working very, very hard together with Priscilla to make this happen. So a big thanks to UNDESA and your branch here for supporting the network of partnerships for local action. So I will try not to repeat what Ola already said, but this network is, I mean, the period of 2020 and 2030, what we call the decade of action, as you can see on the presentation, is global recognized for everyone as the decade of action for the achievement of the Agenda 2030. So this highlights, let's say, the need for strengthening actions across all actors and sectors to achieve SDGs. I mean, we have 5 years or 6 years to 2030, but the journey is not ending there. We need to strengthen all our partnerships, as we can see here in this side event. It's symbolic. It's 1 hour and 15 minutes, but it's a very important, I think, little piece of to show how we are working together. I mean, thank you very much to Irais Barreto. Irais from the Ministry of Economy, and she also chairs the Executive Secretariat for the National Council for Agenda 2030. I don't know, it's okay in English that way, but they, as Ola said, they are, as we speak, finishing the 4th National Voluntary Review, and we had witnessed from UN here in Mexico, from the different different agency funds and programs, how they are also constructing this national voluntary review with many, many partners. We also had the chance to be part of the National Convention for SDGs that was held last year in August, and you could see real there alive many, many sectors, academic, private sector, governments, different agencies supporting this national convention, and big show of what alliances, the strength of alliances can produce, provide, and support SDGs. So this network was born as an initiative, inside the RCO, but as I said, with a specific and very important support from UNDESA, also with important collaboration from UN Habitat, UNDP, UNESCO, UNFPA, UNODC, UN Women, and UNIC. And of course, also after we created this partnership, we, during 2022, not last year, but the year before, we started joining a participation of many, many important actors, and most of them are here now to exchange, such as the Ministry of Economy, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, also the Ministry of Agrarian, Territorial, and Urban Development, the German Agency for International Cooperation, the Development Solutions Network in Mexico, Global Compact, My Word, Mackensense Americas, and all of these actors starting in 2022, contributed, and we strengthened many spaces for dialogue, exchanges, and co-creation that enable us to make progress in consolidating, let's say, a shared vision and defining actions for this strategy. So throughout this process, we had the participation and involvement of more than 300 individuals. You can see there are many milestones of what I'm talking about now. So 300 individuals and organizations with activities in the country, representing national, local, states, public administration from municipal level as well, private sector, academia, civil society, international organizations, and people, general population. So during this process, let's say we found that there's still a need to create more inclusive and flexible spaces to foster more partnerships and to share experiences, to stimulate creativity, reflection, and also trigger new initiatives to accelerate SDGs. You will see also in the National Voluntary Review that I'm sure Irais will talk about this, but the state of Mexico is focusing on good practices, of course, promoted by the government, but with many partnerships. So I think this network, it's a great space, and we need to keep on working. It's not easy with so many actors, and also the expectation of getting involved more people, but this network operates with all these partners. Otherwise, it can't exist. So we need to create more spaces for reflection, to learn, to exchange good practices, and in fact, to interconnect many horizontal and flexible models among individuals and organizations. So we really think, and we believe, and we hope that this network is a useful space to support all of you that are in the field, that are together. We go with the state, we support the states in accelerating SDGs, but all the sectors are the main actors in this challenge. So we think and we believe that this is a space for reflection and capacity strengthen by exchanging good practices and best practices, and also it provides an interconnected and collaborated that supports this, let's say, fruitful ecosystem to identify opportunities and facilitate also new new partnerships and to strengthen multi-actor and multi-sector collaboration. So we really hope to motivate an open participation and involvement of many, many actors and interested organizations. And so we invite all of you to keep on promoting this network so many people can participate. And in fact, we could also make through this network and by accelerating SDGs, human rights, the realization of human rights for all. I mean, it's very utopical, you know, but if we don't believe, we people that are here now, the importance that the Agenda 2030 has and the SDGs to accelerate rights, let's say, to promote rights for people and for a better world for all. So thank you very much, and we really appreciate all your participations, and I hope to listen to you all, your reflections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessica Braver, for these really interesting words about the context of the network and this call to action to join, to interest ourselves in this incredible initiative. So with this introducing remarks, we will follow with the second part, which is about reflection, sharing best practices, and opening a space for exchange. With this said, I would love to introduce, please next, to Irais Barreto, Executive Secretary of the National Council of the 2030 Agenda from the Ministry of Economy, who will tell us much more about the governmental perspective and how this process has been held and the initiatives that they've taken from this side. So thank you very much, Irais Barreto, for being here.
Thank you, Triana. Thank you for this nice introduction. Thank you, everybody, because I know it's very early in the morning. And double thanks to everybody in the social network who is following us. Thank you, Ola and Jessica, because the previous words and for this introduction for the network. And let me share the information, what we are doing in the Executive Secretariat of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development National Council. Jessica, you mentioned very well. Let us continue with the next slide, please. Let us talk a little bit about the institutionalization. What does it mean? Let me share. The Executive Secretary of the 2030 Agenda is one of the largest monitoring offices globally. Why this is important, and I want to highlight, because I went to the workshop some months ago, the United Nations workshop for the countries who are working on the national reviews. And when I was talking with other colleagues, they used to tell me, it's very difficult for us because we are 3 in the office and we work with the SDG agenda, but we have other things to do, no? I noticed that in the other countries, they don't have a specific team focus on the SDG agenda or in the national review. And some of them, maybe in the office, they work 3, 5. And this was for me was very complex, because when they asked me, how do you advance, because we have worked in this in our 4 national review for more or less more than a year, and they asked me why you can do that, because we have a team. So this is very important to emphasize that in the Mexican government, we are very, very serious with this issue, and we get a very big, it's not the biggest team in the world, I know, but it's a team focused only in the SDG agenda. And it's important to mention that each of the 32 states has its own follow-up and implementation body. Now, each state has their own teams, and maybe some of my colleagues in the states are connected in this morning, and it's very important to mention that we got in the whole country. And in the other side, it's important to mention that Mexico has published 3 voluntary national review. Here you can see the days in 2016, 18, and 21, and we are working, as everybody mentioned, we are working on the 4th this year. We got 13 local voluntary reviews published in the United Nations system, but we have identified and worked because 23 are under review for the registration and formalization. What is, sometimes they mention, maybe our local voluntary review is not very, and it's not according to the methodology, or is not very long, and they got some question, no? And they don't, maybe sometimes they don't send to be registered in the United Nations system. So we are working with them because I think it's very important to consider and to register. So in the other side is, in the other side, in our national development program, the plan of program, is commitment to promoting sustainable development. So if you can learn our MDP, you can see each SDG, no, is completely aligned with the SDG agenda. But not only our national development program, at the same time our budget, because it's not only we got the main program, but you can see when you review the project, all the budget programs are designed with the links and contributions to the 17 SDG in mind. So this is, I think, is one of the most important things, because in the government, we focus our budget completely aligned to the SDG agenda. And in the other side, I think is considered this other part, the SDG information system. That is with the INEGI, you know, this statistics institution, that it is very important because we got this SDG information system that is an internationally recognized instrument which tracks indicators that measure SDG progress. So you got the executive secretary, you got the budget program, and you got the SDG information system. So we got a very important framework. This is a very good institutionalization of the SDG agenda at the government level. So I think this is very important to mention this to start our conversation. Let us continue with the next slide, please. What we have identified as a challenges towards the second half of the period. So when we arrived to this position, more than a year, we arrived here to the Minister of Economy in October 2022. We started to work with the SDG agenda, but we were close to the second half of the period, but at the same time, we are close to finish our administration. So we needed to identify some challenges, and we have identified these three. The first one, the SDG territorialization, the 23 agenda democratization, and this multi-sector and multi-stakeholder articulation at the national, state, and local levels. So these are our three challenges. We can continue with the next slide, please. So taking these challenges in our minds, we started to work in the fourth voluntary national review. But let me share something, because when we arrived and when we started to talk about that was necessary to do our review, we received some voices, and some different people told us it's not necessary for a voluntary national review, because with 3 is enough, because some of country, they don't have nothing. It's not necessary that Mexico working for BNR. So to be honest, for me I was surprised, no, because why not? First, is voluntary, no, we can do it, no, and second one is part of the commitment, is part of the accountability. We have to do it, no? And to be honest, it's like to continue the work of the previous administration, no? Because the commitment, when you, the first team that create the first VNR and the second. I had in my mind that was very important to have this for VNR. So with that in mind, we decided to continue. We decided to continue with this VNR and decided to create something to complement the last three. How we can organize this for VNR? We here underline some important dates, but to be honest, we started to work more than a year. We have worked a lot. So, but we started, for example, in June, we organized a meeting for the 2030 agenda when we invited not only the government authorities, we invited other actors who historically participate in the SDG agenda or the ODM agenda, and we started to listen the voices, their opinions, and with that, we decided to organize the first national convention for the 2030 agenda. Why we decided to organize this huge event? Because to be honest, the VNR is not enough to show the cases, the actors, the voices. So we need these different spaces. That's the reason, because this network is very important. We need to create different spaces to listen people and to visualize what the different actors are doing. So the National Convention was a very good exercise because in the same place, 2 days, we got the private sector, the academia, the local governments, the civil society. For example, the micro MSMEs enterprises, they were very excited to participate in this process. The unions in Mexico, they got a voice. So this convention is part of the preparation of the VNR, and we take into consideration too the programs and projects in different sectors. For example, the government programs focus on poverty. We made a qualitative analysis was conducted to determine the SDG and targets impact, and we choose some key stakeholders, no? So for national review, we wanted not only to show the advanced SDG by SDG. SDG 1, we advanced this. SDG 2, because I think we needed to show it in a different way. And at the same time, we wanted to make it more to give a space for the people. So we decided to make some interviews with some persons who are participating or who are part of the programs, because they share their experience, how the programs or the project, when they participate, they change their lives. So in this voluntary national review, you are going to be people faces, no? The human being faces, not only numbers. No, because we didn't want, or we don't want to show only numbers. We want to show personal experiences too, that I think is very important. So, and for this, it's very important to mention that, for example, the private and the trade union sectors have been encouraged to carry out voluntary sector review. Why? Because as I mentioned before, the VNR is not enough. And for example, when the private sector started to talk with us, they told us, no, I want to include this project and this project and this project, but you don't have to, it's insane to have a very long VNR. So they decided to create their own sector review. And I think this is very, very important. I think this is going to be the difference at the world level, no? And the unions, they decided to organize their own voluntary sector review. So this year, we are not going to have only the voluntary national review. We are going to have some sector reviews. At least we know the private and the union sectors. So I think this is going to be very important, and this is the importance to have other spaces to listen the voices and to visualize what the actors are doing. So next slide, please. I know that we don't have a lot of time, and I only want to mention this, that we are very, very proud because we know that we need to be closer to the people. But because when you walk on the street and you ask whoever, you know about the SDG agenda? To be honest, nobody knows. Sometimes the SDG agenda is far from the people, is in the international level, and we want to be closer to the people. We want to be that the people talk about the SDG agenda, and we knew that the young people is the way to do it. So we create with the INCUBE, that is the Mexican Youth Institute, and with United Nations system in Mexico, we create this young network for the 2030 agenda. We present in the national convention. So with these young people, we got an ambassador per state. So we got 32, and they let us to be closer to the local state, to the local people, and they are working. This youth network is working with the local authorities, with other local initiatives. So it's our link to be closer to the people. So we are very proud of the youth network because they are working a lot. They let us know what the other people are doing in the States. So please follow in our social network, because a way to visualize what they are doing. And only to finish, and it's a good example for the local initiatives. What we are working with the local governments. The local governments are natural allies, so we work a lot with them. We are working in the local reviews. No, for us, it's very important that they work in the voluntary subnational reviews to visualize the force and actions. And for example, now we got very good examples. For in Tijuana. Maybe Juan Manuel is going to talk a little bit about the nodes, but in Tijuana, we got a node in the National Technologic Institute of Tijuana. We got a professor, a teacher. He's training people on SDGs. Imagine a professor in Tijuana training people on SDG. So he has trained more or less 10,000 people, but he's working with the Tijuana municipality on the voluntary subnational review. So these kind of links are very important, for example, between the academia and the local government. And these kind of links, we are working on that. And for us, it is part of our commitment to continue working with the local governments, try to push them to the to the voluntary reviews. And as you know, in the past, Mexico, we got a lot of. So I'm gonna finish here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Irais, for sharing with us these compelling experiences and the importance of the National Voluntary Review and all this process. No doubt that it's really interesting, and it has to do with the work of all of us. So following with the second part, we're going to have this really, really enriching panel for which we don't have as much time as we had before, but these experiences will sure be really interesting, compelling, and really nice to hear here. So I will give the word to Juan Manuel Ubier, General Director of the National Institute of Social Economy, and he will talk to us about poverty reduction and the notes for the promotion of the social and solidarity economy and its links to local action and alliances. So you have the floor, Juan Manuel. If we could make the intervention a bit shorter in order for the other participants to have also some time, it would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you, Triana, and I want to thank everyone in this network to hold this event. I think it's very important to communicate what we all are doing in the pursuit of the SDGs in our institutions. Just to be brief, I would like to suggest to you, everyone, to consult the United Nations resolution on social economy that it was adopted by the plenary of the United Nations in New York last April 18. Vice President of the government of Spain, Yolanda Diaz, was responsible to put this proposition to the main course of the United Nations. What is it about? It is about changing a mindset of how we can do all the world. Now it is approved by the United Nations institutions. How can we change our mindset about doing economy? Not an easy thing. And what is the direction of this proposition? What social economy means? What social economy means is that we can produce enterprises everywhere, doing banks, supermarkets, industry, food, fishing, anything, any economic activity that humankind has developed from centuries. We can do that with a very, very specific difference. The owners are not those who puts capital on the table or in the markets. The owners are the people, those who puts their jobs, their capabilities to consumption, their needs of financial services. But to do so, to change our mindset about how we see economy and enterprises, we should also change, or we should improve the capabilities of the educational system to provoke these ideas. If you go to any university in the world, mainly, or maybe the example is more precise if we talk about Mexico in 2018, only 3 universities were talking about social economy. So from our perspective in the National Institute for Social Economy, we said, yes, to change this mindset that is included in the resolution, but it is also in our mandate of the National Institute, we need to change the educational system talking about social economy. But also we need to enhance the sector. All those people in cooperatives, in social enterprises, in ejidos that are working all day, every day, producing goods and services for everyone, but they don't know that they are creating a new mindset of how we can see the world. So we create this idea, the NODES. NODES in Spanish is Nodos de Impulso a la Economía Social y Solidaria. So it's nodes to promote social economy, social and solidarity economy. And it is based in a very specific alliance, a local alliance with one university, one entity of the sector that can be a cooperative, a ejido, a community, a social enterprise owned by the workers, and also a third party that it can be anyone, and a civil association, a local government, a foundation. So with this alliance, they come to the INAES and they say, I want to be a NODES. And we need 2 things, commitment, solidarity, and a very specific need to be resolved in the local framework. So with INAES, we transit much more deep, formal educational process. So they become like pre-NODES and they graduate like NODES, and they can act they do act in the local network. So this very specific unit, now it is multiplied for more than 450 units in the country, and we are very we do think that at the end of this administration we will have more than 550. That means that we are covering all the states, federal states in Mexico, that we are relating more than 2,000 institutions. And with this, I think that I am talking about SDGs. First of all, we are beginning with the last SDG, with this objective of alliances. We're covering these alliances. 2,000 institutions working together, thinking in a different mindset of how to do economy, but producing very specific things, producing value change, better value change in the food industry, with countryside people transforming their goods, their products into better products for people. Here in the city, some notice working at the care economy, provoking spaces where women can take in their hands the power of their activities. So, as I want to be brief, the notice is this: a network to change the mindset, working with the institutions of education, working with local governments, working with real people, transforming their real necessities, and with this changing in a very good manner the way their lives, the way they are lived, so we can accomplish the SDGs in different, each one has their particularity. So, but in every case, we are covering almost all SDGs. And so this is a contribution to change the mindset and to be congruent with this resolution of the United Nations, that it was not just a lucky one. It was a very thankful thing. The United Nations formed a task force for social solidarity economy with the different institutions of United Nations, thinking how to better accomplish the SDGs. And this is the contribution that we have. Thank you very much, and good morning.
Thank you very much, Juan Manuel, for this amazing and really fascinating example of what NODES is and about social economy. With this, I would like to follow with the participation of Auribel Villa, Technical Director of BioCities from GIZ. She's going to tell us about Green Infrastructure Network and the role of the local alliances. So thank you very much for being here, Auribel, and the floor is totally yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. And really happy to share with all these panelists today. I'm going to share this experience about the Green Infrastructure Network we promoted in GIZ Mexico. The green infrastructure is a subject that we have been promoting because it is really well aligned with the SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, because it is a way to regreening our cities and recovering some of these ecosystem services that we have lost due to the urbanization of the cities. So we can recover these ecosystem services, especially those that helps to regulate climate and maybe trying to avoid or to diminish a little bit this urban heat island. And also it is a good tool to regulate the floods that we are going to be having more and more in cities. So in GIZ Mexico, as I told, we have been working with this topic, and we identified that there were many efforts disseminated. There were many people in many regions in the country working around green infrastructure, calling it not maybe even not calling it green infrastructure, but several other name of calling it. But we identified that it was an opportunity there to put all these people together, to gather them and to exchange knowledge, experiences, and good practices. So we can identify some collective vision and solutions and inspire to action. So this network was in first place constructed with the people we have been in touch through these projects, and there were many people with different backgrounds. We have people from public and from private sector. We have people from different government levels, from national, state, and municipal governments. And we also have a really good representation of academic institutions and also civil society. What we do is that we gather all these stakeholders, the key stakeholders, and we decided to make like a core group. And this core group, we had a meeting with them to identify and co-create where were the topics that the network should be addressed to. So we identified this core group, and then there were like several working groups in which every one of these members will be like the head of the group and will having these goals that they were going to construct to be able to build this network. There was a lot of discussion in this first meeting on which should be the scope of the network, because this concept of green infrastructure is like really well developed in Europe and in the United States, but we were convinced that in Latin America it could be different and will be a different approach. So it makes, at least as an idea, it makes sense that we think in having this network in all Latin America, but we decide to constrain it to Mexico only, so we can consolidate this like first network, and then we had the illusion that it could grow for all over Latin America. And we constructed a site in a virtual space. So because we have people from many cities in Mexico, in the north, in the south, in the center. So we needed to have a space where they can share this information. So we have designed like a virtual space that aimed to be user-friendly, where we can chat there and we can follow up some conversations. We have a calendar and we have like a repository where we put in many audiovisual material and readings and stuff that we wanted to share. And we had several meetings, online meetings, and this one in person. So what were the main milestones of this network? As I told, it was mostly virtual work and one face-to-face for the collective design of the network. We have this space to promote communication and interaction among members in the community. We designed a governance structure. We have a strategic plan with a SWOT analysis. And we had these 6 coffee conversations that were not only addressed to the network members, but that was like some communication issues in order to communicate this idea to many other actors and to involve some more people. So I want to share a little bit about the strengths, opportunities, and the weakness and threats of this network, because, well, it was like a great effort. We have to get a lot of attention, and we were really happy because it confirmed that the green infrastructure could be a way to make Mexican cities more sustainable. But unfortunately, we didn't get to have this impulse all over the time. So we have like a really good experience at the beginning, and then we started losing the interest of the members, and now it is not as active as we will like to. So some of the strengths was this diverse and talent we have. It was a lot of technical expertise, and that's this linkage and these exchanges communications. That could be a way to articulate with some other actors and stakeholders and span partnerships and reach out to more actors. But the main weakness here was that there were not enough resources. We put some money in order to pay a consultant that was the one what was directing all these meetings and organizing all of this and designing the site and all of that. But when we finished that consultancy, we don't have any more resources. It was really difficult for the network to keep going. And that is another thing that should be discussed is the leadership. If you have only one people that is the leader of the network, it is less democratic, but maybe it could go further by this leadership, but it will have some bias. And also it is better if we are talking about alliances to have this co-leading, but it takes a lot more time to construct this co-leading. And well, the threats are the loss of interest, that there are many networks there, and maybe you can, if you don't get to approach to those other networks and have good synergy, it could be a competition there. And there are, in this case, there are not current policies that address the issue of green infrastructure. And that will be all for my part.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Auribel, for this intervention and for telling us about this refreshing initiative and this refreshing project from GIZ. Now I will introduce Elisa Trujillo, General Director of Senacet Arise Mexico. She will tell us about disaster risk reduction from the scope of attention to vulnerable communities in emergencies from Coalición Unidos por Ellos. So thank you very much for being here, Elisa. The mic is totally yours.
Thank you very much, Triana. Just give me 1 second to start my presentation, please. Yeah, it's here. Okay, so good morning, everyone from Mexico. It's a pleasure for me to share this space with friends and colleagues, longtime colleagues, that we've been working together in matters of sustainable development and hopefully find new ways to collaborate in Mexico and move forward to sustainable development. My name is Elisa Trujillo. I'm the General Director from Senacet. Senacet is the National Center for for Epidemiological Contingencies and Disaster Attention. And we are the leaders and the holding from this collaboration disaster risk management model that is called Unidos por Ellos. So in the following minutes, I know that we have a few minutes to end our session, but in the following minutes, I will try to get you through why the private sector is very interested in disaster risk reduction and disaster risk management as a way to achieve the sustainable goals, and why we're working as a team in Mexico and how disasters are related to sustainable development. So we start by the premise that companies cannot be successful in weak environments. We know that a lot of companies have been working through the years in different strategies, from philanthropy to social corporate responsibility, and nowadays in social impact. But we think that nothing undermines the development of our communities more than disasters. Hence, the private sector in Mexico is working really hard to achieve different targets from diverse global agendas, such as of course, the SDGs, but also we're working together to link this with the disaster root cause. And we're working together to push forward the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction, link with the Paris Agreement, because more than 90% of the disaster declarations are related to climate change consequences. And we have found this interlink between the competitiveness of our companies and the well-being of the society. So it's not only for us a responsibility, it's also a must if we want to jump from business as usual towards sustainable model in the private sector and become more competitive and more sustainable in the long term. So that's how we started in Senaced. So we've been working since 2002 to build disaster resilient societies, alleviating the human suffering in the most disaster-prone communities, but also to save lives. During these years, we've been working with different communities, not only in Mexico, but also in Indonesia, in Ecuador, in Turkey, and Syria. And we've been building more than 9,000 households. We've been mobilizing more than 235 million pesos, and also rehabilitating more than 422 schools, and developing and bringing a series of benefits to the communities where we are co-participating and collaborating. It's important that we mention that it's not only our effort, but also the effort from the communities that are willing to work together to become more disaster resilient. And last year, we jumped from the business as usual, or from how we have been working during these more than 20 years, and we jumped to this collaboration model. This is a multi-sectoral model. We've been working by the hand and the leadership of the Mexican government. Of course, we recognize the role of the Mexican government as the leader for disaster risk response. It's important to mention that this collaboration model is not only for disaster response, but it covers all the disaster risk management cycle. So by the hand of the Mexican government, Senaced is the holding of this coordination model, and we are supported by two different initiatives from the United Nations with the private sector. So on one side, before the disaster strikes, in everything that is related to prevention, mitigation, and preparedness, we work with ARISE. ARISE is a network from the United Nations that is working in more than 40 countries through 29 national and regional networks. And once that the strike hits, that hopefully will be no soon here in Mexico, we start working with the Connecting Business Initiative. That's another initiative from the United Nations that work in 13 countries by the hand of more than 270,000 companies, especially the small and medium companies around the world. So we work with them for bringing quick and effective response to the strike communities, and also to build back better, which is our recovery phase, where we believe that we start reducing the risk for all these companies. This model is working, of course, with a lot of allies. As you can see in your screen, we're working with 4 different agencies and offices from the United Nations systems, and we're also operating through different NGOs. I believe one of the success keys in our model is that we're very respectful and we do not duplicate efforts. If someone knows how to do something really good, we respect that, and instead of duplicating or reinventing, we became together and start working together within the communities. And that's the case with Cadena and other NGOs. And I will just jump really quickly to some of our results. We have a digital platform. In one digital platform, we can find like different features especially our emergency protocol and others that can support our members, which are not only from the private sector. We work also with NGOs, academia, and of course the public sector and multilateral organizations. So we have different features that can support our members to reduce their own risk and reduce them as a community. And we're working in different working groups according to a model from the World Bank. And we have established different priorities, either for prevention and also for response with our two different initiatives. We are using as a basis the cluster system from the United Nations, and we have developed our main cluster systems from the Unidos por Ellos that are actually aligning with these cluster systems in case that there's an international emergency which requires further collaboration with international entities. And just to start closing my presentation, we've tried already this coordination model in 2 occasions. So the first one was in Turkey and Syria, where we arrived with 3 partners. On one side, we arrived with Cadena within hours. We are very proud of their work on field. And we arrived with a SAR team and also a medical team. SAR is search and rescue team. And we were able to rescue persons alive from different buildings that were collapsed. Also through UNICEF and the BMW Foundation, we arrived to Syria to bring water solutions for children and teenage in the area. And last but not least, by the hand of Miyamoto International, we developed a team that support the government from Turkey to do everything related to infrastructure assessment and also the phases for reconstruction. And at national level, and I'm sorry because it's in Spanish, but at national level, during the last October 2023, we had the pleasure to see how we articulate in a national level emergency. I mean, I say it was a pleasure because it really was a pleasure to work and to pass from being 70 organizations that were working before. Nowadays, we are 180 organizations that has mobilized more than 9,000 tons of humanitarian support for 105 communities in Guerrero, between Acapulco, Coyuca Benítez, and also Chilpancingo and San Marcos. We mobilize, as you can see, many numbers now in your screen. We mobilize, for instance, with the hand of World Central Kitchen, more than 5.3 millions of hot meals for the communities. Also, so different solutions in water, hygiene, and health. We established, we're supporting 3 different hospitals, and one of them was completely private before the hurricane. Nowadays, it's completely public in order to fortify and reinforce, the health system in Guerrero. Everything was delivered hand by hand by these 10 NGOs that decided to collaborate with Unidos por Ellos, because we recognize that united we're stronger. And I will just stop right there, Triana, because of the time, but I'm very open to answer any further doubts about our model. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elisa, for this presentation and for showcasing these results. And we will continue with our last panelist, Raul Guillo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well. And he's going to tell us about the fog catcher in Baja California Sur. Thank you very much, Raul, and please go on.
Thank you, Triana, and thanks everyone for being here. Thanks to all the panelists. And okay, I'll start sharing my screen and I'll try to be as fast as possible. So SDSN Mexico is a network which stands for Sustainable Development Solutions Network, and it's created by the UN also. And in each country, it has a representative. In Mexico, we are co-sponsored by the UNEM and the Tec de Monterrey, which are the biggest academic institutions from the private and the public sector. And well, as you can see, we work with almost everyone in Mexico to promote the 2030 agenda, specifically to promote solutions based in academia, which we have over 90 universities, and try to promote better solutions, better links, improve certain aspects of life throughout our network. And that's our main idea. So we have 4 principal ideas. The first one that was created was the project bank, which has more than 60 solutions throughout Mexico, which try to achieve a specific SDG. We later created SDG experts, which we have over 300 specialists. And this network supports any type of chat, any type of investigation or research that needs to be done. And having those 2, we ended up supporting an initiative by the government called Soluciones 2030, 2030 Solutions, which managed to create, we managed to find 253 problems from the local governments throughout Mexico. And well, just to give you an idea, 141 were focused on environmental problems, specifically water and sanitation and solid waste. We created a solution with the municipality of Córdoba. You can look for it online. Sadly, I won't focus on that project, but I will mention that we also had a youth sector, or like a youth coordination, which focuses on promoting sustainability through various activities. Our last idea was to create a festival of music and sustainability, and it was really fun. We had over 6,000 people, and you can learn more about it on our network. So the fog catcher ended up entering via the project bank, and when we received it, it was just an idea. So this was 2019, and the idea to create a fog catcher in Baja California Sur was that Baja California Sur has a lot of water stress. It has a lot of isolated communities as well, and there's not a lot of rainfall. So the only way to harvest water or use water is either connecting pipelines that would be miles or kilometers long, or to get creative and find better solutions. That's why a researcher named Cristian Salvadeo promoted this idea, and well, his slogan is harvesting fog. And as you can see, he tackled some SDGs, but this idea of creating the fog catcher, as I mentioned previously, was just an idea, and then it came to be throughout the project. Also, after a lot of chats, they managed to create these fog catcher sensors per se. And what they're doing is they're measuring fog and seeing if it's a viable option. This was created via partnership with a startup in Canada that has implemented some in, I think, Chile and Peru as well. The idea of a fog catcher is quite simple. You have a mesh, and with that mesh, water ends up condensing, and you can use it for showering, for cultivating, for giving water to your animals. This is especially important since, as I mentioned, the communities are isolated, so not a lot of normal víveres, not a lot of food and not a lot of water can reach them without having to take really long trips. So enter LIGO, which was met via an invitation from the Baja California Sur government to the network so that we could go and present our ideas at a convention that was in Los Cabos last year. And LIGO connects solutions with money, businesses. And it creates an interaction between companies and researchers. And this is a really interesting way of harnessing what we have in academia and what, I don't know, an enterprise or someone else could easily want to promote, or even just to pay money towards creating a better future that we all know that we need. So LIGO ended up contacting us after the presentation at the summit in Los Cabos, and they mentioned that Destination Mexico, which is a destination management company, wanted to promote water mitigation effects in a way to counteract the effects of tourism. So what ended up happening was that a project was accepted in 2019. Thanks to Soluciones 2030, we ended up creating the Plataforma de Necesidades, which, as I mentioned, has over 253 problematics throughout the world, Mexico, sorry. And this ended up creating a chance for us to speak at Los Cabos Sostenible, and as I mentioned, the summit. And that way, LIGO contacted us with Destination Mexico, and they ended up implementing, they're underway of implementing a fog catcher right now. Hopefully in 2014, they'll have some, or you could say, like a small sample of them and see if they can eventually place them throughout different areas of Baja California. So currently they're measuring 5 different places, and they're contacting the educational side, such as primary schools, secondary schools. But the problem is that most of the funding goes towards transportation. So as I mentioned before, these areas are really far away. So everyone that works at the university needs to go and present and educate the community in the use of the technology. They also have to readapt conventional systems. And as I mentioned before, these ideas of coming and going and presenting, our allies at the University of Baja California Sur have presented this project, I don't know, like 5 or 6 times to different actors who could help significantly, but sadly, most of them aren't mobilized into resources. So I hope I didn't take too much time. My name is Raul Rodolfo Hernandez. I'm the leader of communities and partnerships of SDS in Mexico. And if there's any questions you may need, here's our social network and my mail. So thank you very much, and a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Raul, for presenting to us this innovative technological experience. And we know we're on overtime right now, but it would be amazing if you could stay for this compelling closure from the Honorable Ambassador Graciela Gomez, the General Director of Liaison with Civil Society Organizations at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for being here.
I am delighted and honored, on the contrary. At the conclusion of this outstanding meeting, it is my pleasure to highlight the importance of the innovation showcased in the projects we discussed here today. I am truly motivated. I celebrate that the leading institutions promoting sustainability in Mexico have come together to establish the Local Action Alliance Network, a hub where individuals and organizations from all sectors converge, share, motivate, and facilitate alliances that contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in Mexico at the local level. The innovation and added value of the network lies, in my opinion, in their vision of summing up their expertise in order to translate ideas into concrete actions that foster urban dynamism, development, and ultimately to improve the well-being and quality of life in our communities. For the government of Mexico and for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, multilateral cooperation is a priority. We recognize that sustainable development cannot be achieved in isolation. Collaboration among sectors, active participation of civil society, and the integration of youth by means of intergenerational dialogue are essential elements to fulfill our collective goals. In the government of Mexico, we are determined to build bridges that drive sustainability, inclusion, and innovation in every country, in every corner of our country. The idea is that no one should be left behind. We acknowledge that we face complex challenges that demand creative solutions and enduring commitment. Sustainability is a shared task that requires the synergy of efforts. And today, we reaffirm our commitment to work together to build a future where sustainability is the norm and cooperation is the driving force behind progress. I, of course, invite everyone present here to join forces to become active agents of transformation by joining the Local Action Alliance Network. And finally, I just want to say how proud I am of being part of this conversation. I'm truly honored. I thank every one of you for your contribution. And I just invite everyone so that we continue building together, innovating, and working collaboratively to make Mexico an example of sustainability and development for the whole world. So thank you very much indeed for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for these words, for the acknowledgement of these innovative solutions and experience we've heard today. And thank you all for being here. We just want to make this call of action for everyone to explore the network site and, of course, to join if you haven't already joined. We will be making different events for sharing best practices, for articulating efforts towards the advancement of the 2030 agenda. So please be welcome to continue joining these efforts and scan the QR code or access the link you see below or the one you have in the chat. Thank you very much for being here. It was an honor, and we will continue constructing this joint experience from local action to advance the 2030 agenda. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and hope to see you all in the next session. Thank you for all the panelists. Thank you, and have a really good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Virtual applauses for everyone.
Thanks. Have a lovely day.
See you. Bye.
You too. Thank you for joining so early. See you soon.